hustlers, road players, tournament champions. Hear the stories, get their advice, learn about their lives. Our host, Joey Ryan, brings you an inside look at the professional pool player. You're listening to the Pool Player Podcast, brought to you by Pool Scene 365.
Hey, welcome to Pool Player Podcast, brought to you by Pool Scene 365. I'm your host, Joey Ryan, and if you're enjoying this content, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and the like button, share it, click that little notification bell so that you're notified every time a new episode drops. And do me a favor also, add something in the comments. So if there's something I forgot to ask one of these players that you're like, man, I really want to know that, put it in the comments. It'll help me get better at doing this, and it'll help me get better at asking questions and finding out more about these amazing players. So today we have just an excellent interview, and I'm really excited about it because it's my first female interview, and it's also my first international interview. So I'm tackling two things at once here, and I'm really excited about it. And so our guest today is already won a WPBA event, the Super Billiards Expo, the Youth World Championship, and she's a 6-time European Women's Champion and 7-time Euro Tour Women's Champion. And so coming to us all the way from Moscow, Russia, I'd like to welcome Kristina Tkach to the show. Hey, Kristina.
Hi, everyone.
So Kristina, just to get started, can you tell us how you got started in pool?
My dad actually brought me into a pool. I was 8 years old and he really liked the game, but not pool, but Russian pyramid. I don't know if you really know this game where it's a big table, very tiny pockets with a big white balls. And as I was very small, like short, it's not like I'm very high now, but when I was a kid, I was even shorter. So I couldn't reach the table because it's higher, like maybe as a snooker table. So he decided me to try pool because the table is lower and it was easier for me to be able to reach it. So that's how it started.
So I've always been, I've always looked at female pool players and I view it as it's a difficult thing sometimes because, when I see a lot of the male players, it seems like they don't often give you the kind of respect that you deserve. And sometimes they're like, oh, well, this is a girl. I can beat this girl, Do you experience that quite a bit? And, what's that like?
Yeah, I think it happens in any area of anything. Starts with work and any kind of, office job, anything, any kind of job. Women get so underestimated because it's like, oh, she's girl. How can she handle it? How she can, know what's right and what's wrong. So yeah, of course it happens in sports too, especially in pool, as there's not so many good female players and male players think that, we can't really play, but you know what? I don't really care, and I like that because when you gamble, it helps a lot. When the guys who is playing worse than you thinking he can beat you, okay, I'll let you think whatever, and we just play.
Yeah. Who's your favorite pool player to watch?
I think it's Alex Bogwalain. I really enjoy watching him play, and I know it's kind of old school, but I still really enjoy watching it because I like his passion for game, and you can really see that he's very, very dedicated to what he does, and I kind of really admire that.
Yeah, I just recently interviewed Alex, and I have to agree with you. He's probably one of the more passionate players that I've seen, but also one of the more intelligent.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the things that I love about him. I'm really curious. I've played pool in the United States for years, and occasionally in other places I travel. I traveled to Brazil. I played a little bit of pool there in different places. What is playing pool in Russia like? So you've played in the United States and obviously Russia because you live there.
Mm,
Um, Tell like the American viewer that's used to going to the pool room in America how it differs in Russia.
it's very different because it's not really popular here, and we only have one or two decent pool halls where you can come and play and enjoy really game because the tables are good, the balls are clean, and for the rest, there's no other places you can really play the game. So it's quite boring, and we don't really have a lot of players, even amateurs, you know. So it's very complicated to gamble or to do something like this. So I guess for American pool players, it would be very boring to come in Moscow because really no games. But we have one very great club. It's the name is Baza. I don't know if you heard about it, but many Europeans and American Mosconi Cup team were there. All the guys like Billy Sky and Shane. So it's really a great place. But for the rest, nothing else.
Is that the place where you recently played Fedor Gorst?
Yeah. And
Yeah, because
that's where. Sorry,
no, go ahead.
what do you say? That's where they were playing a Dream Challenge, America against Russia. So it's that club.
Okay. Yeah, because
Uh-huh.
I watched that match and you know, I was struck with just first of all, there seemed like there were quite a bit of people grabbing balls and going to tables, and the equipment looked really great. The lighting looked great. It looked like a really nice place to play pool. So I was wondering if
Mm,
there were a lot more places like that, but I guess not too many, huh?
no,
No.
no.
I'm curious how you train when you're preparing for a big match or a big tournament. Can you take us through that? Do you do drills or do you just try to hit as many balls as possible? Do you try to set up some gambling matches to kind of get you tuned up? How do you prepare for a big tournament?
So I don't do any kind of drills before tournaments for sure. I just try to pay attention a lot on my stroke routine, and also like doing 90 and just make sure my hand is good. You know, it's straight and it's solid. And then I just try to set up some little gambling matches just to get in game, or I can just play Ghost, you know, something like this.
What is one of the most important things that you would say you've done to develop as a top player?
Um, Discipline, being disciplined and do whatever you have to do, no matter what. You don't want it, you want it. It's raining or it's sunny, it's night or it's morning. You know, if you have to go to practice, you have to go to practice no matter what. Actually, I was I mean, I always did that, but I was very inspired with one of the book. I don't know if you ever read the not mm, Rafa book, Rafael Nadal, you know, tennis player.
Oh yeah.
So he wrote a book about his life, and he was saying that if you once let yourself to, you know, to take a break when you don't have to, you know, when you let yourself just be lazy once, it will keep going again and again because you get used to that, and that's why you can never really let yourself do what you want, you know what I mean, but in a good way. Like if I have to go to practice and I know I have to spend certain hours, I have to do something, there is no excuses, sorry. There is no excuses. I have just to go and do that. So I guess that's what really helped me a lot in developing.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think, pool players need to read more, right? Because there's a lot of things that we can get
Yeah,
from books from people who are successful in other sports, like Rafael Nadal. I mean, the guy's amazing. And so if he has something to say about winning and about being a champion, we should probably listen. So I think that's a great
yeah,
recommendation.
yeah, that's for sure. I mean, why not just try to learn from successful people. It's not going to hurt you anyway. So
Yeah, that's right. So this is a little bit of a tough question, but tell me your highest high and your lowest low as a pool player.
um like my worst period of my game and my best. Oh, what does it mean?
Yeah, kind of the highest high, meaning like the best you've ever felt about something that happened with pool, maybe the best title you've won, or, a time when you were just on top of the world. And then your lowest low would be just the worst you've ever felt, after a pool match or, at a time in your life when you were playing pool.
Well, there was a time, I guess it was a little over a year when I felt actually horrible when I played pool because I was way too frustrated, I was way too nervous, and I expected from myself way too much. And I obviously couldn't handle it. And it started after I won a lot of titles in Europe as a woman already, not just as a girl. And it gave me a lot of pressure actually. Like many people would say, who cares? You already won so many titles and just go and enjoy. But it happens actually opposite way when you come to the tournament and everybody expecting you to win, everybody expecting you to play very good, but it's not actually always up to you, to win. Sometimes it happens that no matter what you do, you still lose. So it gave me a lot of pressure, and I couldn't really handle myself on the game. I was too nervous, too like in panic, and it was like for a long period of time, even though in that period of time I still was able to win something. I don't know how, but it was very very hard time for me. So I guess it was my lowest low.
How did you come out of that before you go to your highest high? How did you get out of that period of time? Because I think there's other people that probably have experienced something similar.
You know what, I cannot tell you actually the answer because I hit the bottom in my game. Like I was so pissed and disappointed, and I was so emotionally down that I just said fuck it. you know what's gonna happen worse than where I'm now. And I just said whatever happens, I don't care anymore. So I guess it's not really the way it have to be. You really have to understand the problem and trying to solve it and blah blah blah, but maybe I wasn't smart enough back then, and I'm not sure if I would be smart enough to do that now. But my solution was just to kind of give up and just play as I play. And then I started to play back in my game when I stopped actually expecting from myself anything. So yeah, I cannot really give the recommendation about that because I know what I did, it wasn't right. You cannot give up no matter what, but that's what I did, and it helped me. So
Well, that does sound somewhat like a recommendation, right? Like stop putting high expectations on yourself and just go out and enjoy the game and let what
oh yeah,
happens happen.
it's very
Yeah.
easy on words. That's the thing. That's why, when people actually gave me a recommendation how I have to handle it, I was so angry because you don't understand how hard is that. It's very easy to say just go and play and enjoy, but it's it's like every person is so different and everybody's thinking different things, and that's why I don't want to give any kind of recommendations because it's very individual for each person.
Yeah.
Maybe, of course, to trying to read more books because there's a lot of information in books about, take any successful athlete, any successful person, and read their book, their story, and you'll find so many interesting things that actually might be very similar to your situation. This is the only, I guess, smart way to deal with the problem.
Yeah. So tell me about your highest high.
Um, my highest high, I guess, I would say two periods of my life. It's when I just started to win women tournaments after I stopped. No, I was 16 when I won the first time European Championship. So I still played in a youth division, but from 16 to 18, I think it was the time of my life when I don't know, I enjoyed the game so much because I realized, okay, maybe I can do really serious, in that. Like I can be real professional if I can beat women already in my age. So I was kind of, I don't know, I was so happy when I played, and I didn't care who's thinking about me what. I just come and just enjoy. And then I guess last year I had a really great year because I played so many games and tournaments, and I spent so many time in America, and everything was so new for me. So it kind of gave me a lot of new strength. And yeah, I would say all the tournaments, most of the tournaments that I played, even if I didn't win, I still got a lot of fun and for myself, not like hanging around Buho, you know what I mean, fun in the game with myself. So I think it was my highest high. And yeah, I
Yeah,
won a lot of tournaments last year, so a big ones. So yeah.
yeah. So let's talk a second about last year and the time that you did spend in the United States. Did you enjoy it over here? I guess you did. It was part of your highest high, but tell us about like how you felt about being in the United States and competing and kind of the places you went and some of the things that you did. Any interesting stories?
um it was very very new for me, obviously. And after spending so much time home, I was traveling to Europe, but it's just for a week or two, or to China, same to a week or two, but I never left home for a couple of months. So it was obviously a big challenge for me. So I kind of felt very uh, overwhelmed. Did you
Mm,
say?
yeah, yeah.
Like also people were so nice, and I was so happy actually and impressed to see how big actually pool in America, because I never had really uh, something to compare with Russia or Europe. And then I realized how many people actually love the game, like even people who just come and watch, they never play, but they just enjoy watching. So I was kind of shocked. So also the amount of tournaments, amount of players, amateurs, semi-professional players, I was really like good. It was a good surprise for me. And also I got to know what is to gamble, what is to play American tournaments, and I really like that. Everybody knows I like to gamble, but I'm not really a gamble player. Like I guess it's very hard for me to get some player play how you say game addiction from any kind of games. But pool, I love to gamble, not because of money, but just the feeling that you get. Yeah, there was like actually a lot of fun stories. Coming back to our conversation about men underestimating a woman, and all these conversations, sharking, and I was also very surprised how man can actually act when he's losing to a little girl. It was a big surprise for me as well, but it's a good lesson too. So yeah, there was many times when guys started to play and then losing one or two sets, even though we locked up three sets, and after first set he just say, oh, I have a big headache, we'll keep going, keep playing tomorrow, even though he knows that I'm leaving tomorrow. So all this fun stuff. But it's part of the game, and I also enjoy that. I enjoy any part of the game, actually.
Yeah, over here we call that moves. Somebody pulled a
Moves,
move,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Somebody pulled the
So,
move, yeah. But
yeah.
actually, I'm very. When somebody's trying to shark me, I guess they try to make me angry or make me pissed, but it it just makes my mood so much better. So I started to play better because I'm like, how low can you go just to, try to disturb me from playing? It's just so funny for me. So, if somebody's gonna watch that and think that, if you ever play with me and think it's gonna be good to shark me, then no. It's
Yeah.
actually only, yeah, bringing me a lot of joy.
Yeah, like in my case, if somebody tries to shark me, I immediately think they must not think they can beat me. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
psychologically, there's something
yeah,
there that they think they need to try to find a way to get an edge. So they're afraid to play me. So it kind
yeah,
of helps bolster my confidence because why do they need to try to distract me if they think they could beat me outright, you know? And
yeah.
so that's a good point. So I have a question about just the landscape of women's pool. It seems like there's a few Asian female players that are just, I mean, like Simeng Chen. She's
Mm-hmm.
like almost an 800 Fargo rating. I mean, she's, and then you have yourself and some great European players. And then it seems like the female players in the United States aren't quite there. Why do you think that the Asian and European ladies are having more success? You mentioned yourself, you come to the United States, there's tons of players, there's tons of action, there's tons of tournaments. Why do you think that the female players in the United States aren't having as much success?
Well, I think for the beginning, it's it's a goals, different kind of goals, I guess, because uh, from talking to from conversation, from our conversations with all these girls and women out there, I realized that none of them really wants to be professional, or they want to be professional, but they don't want to do things that professionals have to do. Not trying to insult anybody, but it's a full-time job. You cannot just come a couple times a week, come to the pool hall, just have a drink, relax, play with your friend, practice for an hour or so. It doesn't work like this. It doesn't work. It couldn't work. Otherwise, sport wouldn't never exist. If all the athletes would treat their professional like that. So you have to be really disciplined, and you have to work hard for it, and you have to set up the right goals. That's for the most important thing, because if you don't have goals, then you're in trouble. If you don't know why you play and it's just for fun, then it's very hard to do that professional or trying to get better. I think for most of the part, they really enjoy the game, and it's kind of hobby for them. That's the thing, because it's not really well paid. Obviously, everybody knows that. It's very hard to make money if you're not in top something, in top,
Mhm.
I don't know, top five in Europe, top 10 in the world. And to get there, it's very hard. So I guess you know it's it's just hard to find motivation to work very hard when it's not get paid so much. And I think it's the same with men in America. There is a lot of semi-professionals, or people who could be really professionals, but it's very hard because you need to make money for a living. You need money to travel and for big tournaments. So it's very very hard.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I mentioned I recently watched your match with Fedor Gorst, and I know that when you were in the United States, you were matching up with male players. Is that important, do you think, for female players to match up against the male players?
I think yes, because anyway, male players are more. experienced, and I like male game more, no matter what, because you can really learn and see something new, and they're tougher players. So I think it's very important, but I think a lot of girls who match up with men thinking it's okay to lose because I'm a girl, and that's where it comes to um, that is all this is actually useless. If you come to play and you think it's okay for me to lose because I'm a girl, he's mad and he's better, blah blah blah, then it's going to be helpless for your game. You have to come and you have to try your best and even more to beat him. And there can't be any difference between you as a male and female. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't been talking in English for a while, so it's a little complicated for me to remember all the words. So, but
I think you're doing wonderfully. So,
thank you.
yes.
So yeah, it's very important to take it as there is no sex, like there is no gender. That's what the right
Mhm.
word. So yeah.
So, kind of expanding on that a little bit, I have a daughter and, I have two sons. And so I've taught them all how to play pool and, there's some interest there. And I always teach my daughter that anything she does in life, she can do it just as well as a man, right? I think that's an important message for a little girl to
Yeah.
hear. She's 7 years old. But looking at pool, I don't think there's ever been a time where there's been a female player who's been the best player in the world. And I don't know, it kind of confuses me because if you look at pool, it's not really a game where physicality is involved. There's no reason why a woman couldn't be the best player in the world. Do you think a woman could be the best player in the world one day?
Um, no. Well, um, there is not really a lot about physical uh, stuff, but actually, men are they're more like, how to say, more mature and solid in psychologic way. Like you can concentrate better, you can keep this concentration longer, and you're more um, you can resist better to a stress situation. That's what I would say. Because even if you look in other um, professions, as for example drivers, women are very bad in driving cars. Everybody knows that, because men can handle stress situation so much better. And game is anyways a stress situation, especially if it's, if you go further in the tournament, if it's hill match. So it's a biology, I guess. Nothing you can do. Yes, you can try your best and you can do whatever possible and impossible to try to get on the same level, but there's there is a big difference actually anyway between, you know um, between these little things, but they are actually very important in pool. That's why I don't think a woman can be the best player in the world.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard people speculate, and it seems like, it's always trying to guess why that is. We all have that feeling, I think, that there is some biology involved, but what exactly is it? And I've heard people speculate that it might be like testosterone, the fact that, males make testosterone and that gives them like that competitive edge, where winning is
Women
so
do that too.
important. Yeah,
We
yeah.
we also have hormone. It just doesn't work as much as yours. But let's say women who, I don't know, fight, they take testosterone, for example, UFC fighters or bodybuilders. But I don't think if I take testosterone, like if I'll take some hormones, like testosterone hormones, I'll play better. Do you believe in that?
Well,
I don't
no,
believe
but
in that.
you'll probably grow a mustache, but
Yes. Or I'll have a lot of muscles, but definitely not. getting better in pool.
Yeah.
I think it's all about the stress resistance, if you can call it like this. How can you handle stress situation, and how can you handle yourself in some matches? Because there's a lot of women out there actually who play decent pool, who can really compete with men, but when it comes to the game, we just overthinking too much. We overthink everything. Man, more straight. He knows that, okay, I did that 1,000 times, and this time is not different from others, so I'm probably gonna shoot this way. And a lot of women, look at this and thinking, oh, maybe I have to try something new, even though the previous way works absolutely fine, but now you want to try something new, and or maybe I should play here differently. And actually my dad is my coach for all my life, and he'd been always very surprised when I was playing before. I'm like, well, I just wanted to try something new, and he's like, why? This is what is right. There's no other way. You don't have to look for something else. This is the standard position. There's no other ways. And I'm like, oh, maybe I would find something. So I guess it has to be a lot with all this little biology stuff. Also, man, looking at things more wiser, I guess. That's why you are very good in some kind of things, and women are better in some little things where you have to have a lot of patience, for example, doing some little things with fingers or like stuff like this. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it has to be a lot with that. It's personally my opinion.
That's very interesting about the stress piece and handling stress. And it reminded me of a story in my life. My youngest son, when he was 18 months old, now I'm the parent who worries, and
Hmm.
you could say that I don't typically handle stress well in a normal situation, whereas my wife is very calm usually, right? But this one particular day, my 18-month-old son at the time had a seizure. And when he had a seizure, she screamed and she freaked out. And I'm the one that normally freaks out, but I came upstairs, I grabbed him, I laid him down, I checked his pulse, I called 911, and I was completely calm, and I don't know what it was, but something came over me that said I needed to be calm while my wife was freaking out, so maybe you're onto something there because that
I
was,
don't want
yeah, go ahead.
what I just don't want to put a cliche to all women that we are not absolutely stress resistant. Of course not. We can also handle hard situations, but it's about, if it comes one time in your life, two times in your life, yeah. But when it comes to handling stress every day, for example, on the tournaments or in gambling, it's your average stress resistance, which
Yeah.
is for men so much higher than for women, I think. I don't want to say that, there's also a lot of men who, absolutely cannot handle themselves in the stress.
Yeah.
It's not about the gender, but the average rate is, I think it's higher for men anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult thing to kind of dissect, but I like some of the things that you said. I think it's pretty interesting. Let me kind of switching gears a little bit. Let me ask you, what do you do outside of pool? Do you have any hobbies or maybe other talents that people don't know about or
Um,
interests?
well, I actually have a lot of interests. Like, the only problem is that I don't really have time always to do what I really would like to do. But I really like to cook and baking stuff. So very typical for Russian girl, I guess. Also, I really, like to work out recently, maybe since quarantine, because there wasn't a lot of things to do. So I would say practicing some yoga and meditation stuff. Also, I like to read books. I read a lot of books, and I like to watch smart movies. not smart, but something you can really think about, that makes you think about different things. And I really enjoy watching that kind of movies. um, for the rest, nothing like maybe learn another language. I really like French, and I would love to learn it one day. um, that's it. Actually, pool takes my a lot of my time, so it's very hard to have a lot of things to do outside of pool.
How do you know English so well? Did you take English in school?
We had English in school, but I was never good in it. I guess because I was dating for quite a long time with foreign guys, like German, Switzerland, and then I come to America and I lived there for almost a year, and of course I got better, but it's very complicated when I don't speak for a long time English, and I can feel that it's a little like I'm struggling a little bit to build to make a nice sentence how it have to sound right. That's happening actually the same with my Russian. When I'm spending a lot of time in America and I don't get a chance to speak a lot of Russian, I come back and I kind of forgetting words. I
Yeah.
really forget. I'm a native Russian speaker. How can it happen? So, but it is happening, and I know it's happening with a lot of people. So that's why, yeah, it's I might sound a little weird when I don't speak English for a long time, so I'm sorry for that.
Well,
but
I think your English is wonderful. My wife is from Brazil, and she moved to the United States when she was 12 years old, and so she's bilingual. She also speaks
mhm.
Spanish, and she says the exact same thing that you do when she talks with her family or she talks with other Brazilians. She's like, "Man, my Portuguese is so bad," and it doesn't sound bad to me. I don't understand it, but it seems like she's doing fine. But she says the same thing. It's like you get rusty with one, and you struggle some.
Yeah, there was one funny situation. I spent 3.5 months in America last summer, and then I come back home for a day because I had to go to Utrecht in Holland. And for this day, I had interview for Russian television about pool and how did I get started. And I sound so horrible. I couldn't make a sentence, so we had to stop after every question, so I could at first trying to build this, what I want to say in my head before I actually start talking. So it was horrible, and a lot of people think that actually athletes are dumb, and I
Yeah.
was perfectly proving this stereotype because I couldn't really speak like a
Yeah.
decent this speaking decent, so it was horrible.
I want to ask you real quick. When you came to the United States, where did you go in the United States? Did you travel around quite a bit?
Only for tournaments. I didn't have a chance to go where just to sightseeing or vacation. But that's definitely on my plan because just last year was very busy with a lot of tournaments, and me first year in America, uh, I was I really didn't. I was very busy. I didn't really have a lot of time to go somewhere, but it's definitely on my bucket list to travel around and trying to even go further than America. Trying to go to Latin America, to Canada, since I'm already on that side of the world. So, but yeah, just need to find a time.
Yeah, I was just wondering like what state you went to because, the way and it's probably the same way in Russia, but depending on where you go in America, the language, the English language sounds very different, right? So I grew up
Yeah.
in Baltimore, Maryland, which has a T in Baltimore, but if you're from there, it's Baltimore. And
Mm-hmm.
you have Louisiana, where people sound way different. You have Texas, people sound different. West Coast, East Coast, So I was just wondering what states you went to play in your tournaments.
I was like, I live originally in DC most of my time. So I've been in Baltimore and Maryland, all this, next to states. And I've been in Iowa. Uh, I've been in Louisiana. Is it where is Derby, right? Uh,
Derby, yeah, Derby is in
Kentucky,
Indiana. Yeah.
Indiana. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's nearby.
right there. Yeah, right
Uh,
next door.
yeah. Also, I've been in Michigan and I've been in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
So that's, I think, pretty much it. But I know what you mean. Oh, also in Virginia, what is North and South Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I know what you mean because at first when I came to America, I spent a lot of time in the middle of America because there was a lot of tournaments, and I kind of was angry with people because you come and talk to me and you talk to me like I'm American and I understand everything you say, and plus you speak so unclearly. I can barely understand what you mean. Like, people who, like, also in England, in Brittany, people in London speak one way, and in Scotland it's different way.
Yeah.
It's the worst accent ever. People from Scotland, right? From Yeah. You cannot really understand, even they ask you how are you, and I still couldn't get what you mean. So it was the same with me when I was in America for the first time, because you see that I'm not American, so you can give me a shot and try to talk a little bit slower and more clear for me. But no, even I tell you, hey, can you please speak slower because I can't understand shit. And he's like, oh shit, like, yeah, sure. And then after a couple of words, it's the same story. So it was very complicated for me to understand. But I guess people in my area, in your area too, how would you say, East Coast? Is it East Coast or West Coast?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I live
West.
in Arizona now. I live in Arizona now, which is right next to California out west.
Is it East? Is it, or it's West?
East is back where like Roy lives, Roy,
Yeah.
in
So yeah.
Virginia. That's the East
In
Coast. Yeah.
in East Coast, people speak more, I guess, traditional English. I don't know, more a better way to talk it for other people to understand, for foreigners.
Yeah. That's because you haven't been to Massachusetts yet, where they say park your car. That means park
What's
your
that?
car.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it does. So you'll find out next time you come, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Gonna
when
be
I
exciting.
when I interview top players, I always ask if they have any ideas for growing the sport, growing pool. I remember growing up as a kid, I was still able to watch a lot of professional pool on television, on ESPN and things like that. But now, it's great with the streaming game that we have, and so much going on with streaming. But you alluded to it earlier with the prize money, and we kind of need something different, right? So do you have any ideas for what that might look like, how to grow the game, how to grow the sport?
Well, um, I I think it has to do something with players. There is a small part we can actually change as players, being more professional and stuff like this. But I think anyway, it depends a lot on the bigger guys than us, who actually can do something and decide. I mean, for example, with Predator, I know they really try to grow sport, organizing a tournaments and supporting players and everything, and it's really great for the game. But a lot of other American, Chinese, European federations and people who have money and who can actually change that, I think they do the wrong things, honestly. I don't want to, I don't know names and who does that, but from what I heard and from what I saw, In America, there's 1,000 players, 1,000 amateurs who play leagues, and they pay entry fees, for example. And even if you take $1 from each player, just one, you can raise prize money of the world championships for men like twice. You can make it 60 or $80,000, which, or 100,000, which is already more looking like a professional world, world championships. And with the more money, there are going to be a lot of more players who would be interested to become professional, because it's a good money. But when men having $30,000 for the first place and women having 40, which is even more, it's, you can't really talk serious about the sport. So I just think people who have to do that and who have opportunities and money to do that, they don't really care. I don't know other explanation for what they do. So yeah, that's that's my personal opinion.
Yeah. So I want to interview more female players. And so I'm curious, like, who do you think I should reach out to and try to interview? Who would you listen to if I was giving them an interview?
Oh, Kelly and Allison Fisher. I really enjoy their company, and they're great women. I don't know, some European players. I don't know if it's possible for you to talk with some Chinese or Taipei players, but there's a great girl from Taipei, Wu Chen. Wei Wei is her nickname. I don't know if you ever heard about her. But yeah, I think there is. I can write you a list of players if you want, so you can try to set up some interview with them.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love that. Who would you say is your biggest rival? Like someone that maybe you've struggled against from time to time, or you always see at a tournament and it's like, oh man, I got to play this person again. Is there somebody like that?
No, honestly, no, because I never looking at that opponent and thinking, oh, I have to play her again because I come here to win, and to win a tournament, I have to beat her and similar with her players. So it doesn't matter if I play with her first match or it's going to be the final match. I have to beat her no matter what. And if I cannot, then I cannot win the tournament. So it's kind of another challenge for me. If I meet someone like this during the tournament, I can really understand if I have a chance or not. Because I know, for example, she's like Chen Siming. If you come to any world tournament as the World Championships, China Open, Amway Cup, and you meet the player and you come to win and you cannot beat the player, or you're scared to play, then it's not a place for you in this tournament.
Yeah. So you mentioned Predator before, and I know obviously they sponsor you, they're on your shirt. But I wanted to give you a minute to talk about Predator sponsorship and anyone else who you may want to kind of share.
Uh, about my sponsorship,
Yeah.
well, obviously, I I'm really I really appreciate what they do, not only for me, but as I said, for all the sport, not just a game, but exactly a professional sport. And I think they do the right job. And I know they support a lot of players, even here back in Russia, the beginners, who just start developing. It's a great inspiration when such big company as Predator, um, you know, making sure you have a good equipment and seeing that really they really try to support you. And I know from myself, when I was a kid, I looked at the Predator and I always wanted to be a part of it. I was always jealous of all these players who are in the pro team. And one day when I won some tournament and we talked with Predator, I was so motivated to do better, because I'm like, okay, this company saw something in me, and now I have to prove prove that they wasn't wrong about me. So it's motivating a lot, I guess, players, especially young generation, a lot. And I think it's very, very important because all sports is it's built on the young generation, no matter what, on the kids and their passion for the game. Um, so they do a great job about it. Organizing professional tournaments is always on the top. So I cannot really complain about it. I think they really do a great job.
Other than Predator, are there any other sponsorships?
Um, Roy's Basement is actually also my sponsor. I spent a lot of time in Roy's house and practicing with one of the best players in the world, which actually helped a lot to my game. And yeah, they trying to set up some matches for me, and I cannot complain.
With Roy's Basement, when you say you were practicing with one of the best players in the world, that could be one of like 4 or 5 different people, because Roy has so good players.
I
That
know,
could,
but that's what I'm saying. It's James and Chua and Arculio and so many other players.
oh
So it
wow.
was a very great experience for me, just to come downstairs and see Carlo Beato practicing. I'm like, hey, can you shoot? Can you shoot with me? Can you tell me how to play here and here? And they always being very nice to me and helping, so helpful. Yeah, it's very helpful for my game.
So what are your next goals for your pool career? Do you have any, like, you mentioned earlier, it's really important to have goals.
Yeah.
What are some of those goals that you've set for yourself?
Well, a world title, very trivial, but anyway, I think it's something very important for any athlete. It's a world title or Olympic Games, but we don't have really one. And next year is going to be World Games. I guess it's going to be in America. I'm not sure. So it's kind of, I don't know if you know about it, but it's kind of like Olympic Games, but
Hmm.
for not Olympic sports. So I would love to have that title, honestly. So I'll work really hard for it. And then I just honestly, I think if you really enjoy the game and you really about playing game, not about winning, then it will come automatically. Once you really enjoy and love what you do, you will, you know, it will come automatically, all your wins.
Yeah.
This is
So
actually also the key how to handle all this, pressure and paranoia about your game is just to play and trying to enjoy and focus what actually happens on the table. You know, this is the most important thing. So again, that's why Alex Pagulayan, someone like Alex Pagulayan or Joshua Filler, you can see their pool drive. It's super high because they love the game. They just enjoy it, and that's why they're so good in it. I guess if you come for the tournament and you just want to win it, then you're in trouble because you will never do that. So honestly, I just want to play and try to enjoy as much as I can, and see what happens.
So, Christina, this has been great. And I really thank you for taking the time to share a piece of yourself with the audience. I think they're really going to love this. And there's a lot of really good things in this interview that folks can kind of use and help in their own pool game, and really just to get to know you a little bit better. And so I want to thank you. And I want to see if you had any final thoughts that you want to leave us with, anything for folks that are listening, for maybe just something to leave them with.
Um, Let me think about it. Um, I don't know. There's there's so many thoughts. I don't know which one to share. Well, I just want to say that First of all, thank you for your time and giving me a chance to share a piece of me with all these people who's gonna watch it. And I just wanna say, just love the game. And if you do that, for example, professionally, everything will come. Just keep working, never give up, and believe in yourself, because if you're not going to believe in yourself, who will, right? So this is the most important thing, I think.